Perhaps you know this scene very well. It is 3 in the morning. The room is quiet, the world is dark, yet your mind is wide awake. You stare at the ceiling or at the small light of your phone, and the thoughts begin their familiar procession. You replay the email you sent yesterday, line by line. You imagine the meeting that is still days away. You hear again the sentence you spoke to a friend or to your child, wondering if it was wrong or foolish or too much. You feel tired in your body, but your brain will not switch off. In those moments, you might ask yourself with some despair, what is wrong with me? Why can I not simply sleep like other people? This is the struggle I want to speak with you about, overthinking at 3 in the morning, when the mind circles and circles, and yet nothing really changes. We will look at it together, not as a defect in you, but as a meaningful expression of how you are trying, in your own way, to cope with life. Now, let us consider what is actually happening in those long, silent hours. You are not lazy, you are not indifferent. On the contrary, you care very much. You care about doing well at work, about being a good partner or parent, about not failing, not disappointing others, not being seen as less than. So your mind works overtime. It examines each possibility like a watchman pacing the same short stretch of wall, back and forth, back and forth. And even though there is no intruder, the watchman does not dare lie down and rest. From an Adlerian perspective, this overthinking is not meaningless. It is a kind of substitute for action, a safe activity that allows us to feel busy, vigilant and conscientious, while we postpone the small, courageous steps that would actually move our life forward. You may notice this in your own experience. You lie awake thinking about a difficult conversation you could have with your manager. You rehearse the sentences, imagine their reaction, anticipate every possible counter-argument. In the fantasy, you speak bravely and clearly. In reality, day after day, you avoid setting the meeting, or you say, "No, it's not the right time." Or you think for hours about your child. Will they be okay at school? Did that one conflict today with another child damage them? You go over the scene again and again, almost as if your mental replay could repair it. Yet the next day, you may still shy away from asking your child gently how they felt, or from speaking calmly with the teacher. In both cases, thought has become a kind of shelter. It is a place where we can feel active without risking ourselves in the imperfect, unpredictable world of real steps and real relationships. I invite us to stay with this question for a moment. What is my overthinking doing instead of movement? This question is central. When the thoughts are racing, we usually ask, how can I stop these thoughts? But from my view, a more fruitful question is, what task in front of me feels so risky, so uncomfortable, that my mind prefers to run in circles rather than take one small step toward it? Often, overthinking at 3 in the morning is a sign of courage that has not yet found its path. You have energy, you have concern, you have imagination. But all of this is turned inward into rumination rather than outward into participation and contribution. Let us be honest, action is frightening. To send a clear email, to ask for help, to admit a mistake, to set a boundary, to say no, or to say yes to an opportunity. Each of these actions exposes us. We might be misunderstood. We might fail. We might discover that we are not as competent or as liked or as safe as we hoped. So the old feeling of I am not enough wakes up like a child in the night who is afraid of the dark. In Adlerian terms, a feeling of inferiority is stirring. It is not proof that you are truly inferior. It is a signal that you are facing a task where you doubt your ability to belong, to contribute, to matter. Overthinking then becomes a creative but misguided compensation. Instead of saying, I feel small here, let me take one step to grow, the mind says, let me think longer, let me prepare more, let me find the perfect way, then I will move. But dawn comes, the alarm rings, and life asks again for simple, imperfect steps, not for perfect plans. Now, let us look at a simple everyday example. Imagine someone lying awake, thinking about a colleague at work. There was a sharp comment in a meeting. The colleague seemed distant afterwards. Our friend in bed replays it, wondering, did I offend them? Do they think I am incompetent? Will this harm my reputation? They imagine confronting the colleague. Then imagine the colleague being cold or sarcastic. They imagine apologizing and being brushed off. With every thought, the heart beats a little faster. So they decide silently, tomorrow I will just be extra nice and work harder. Then it will all be okay. No conversation, no clear step, just more effort and more guessing. From the outside, we might say the simple, respectful talk could clarify everything. But from the inside, for our friend, that talk feels like stepping into a bright spotlight. Overthinking in bed is much safer. Nobody can reject you inside your own head. So again, we return to the guiding question, what is my overthinking doing instead of movement? Is it protecting me from the risk of being honest? Is it protecting me from the discomfort of saying, I do not know, but I am willing to learn? Is it helping me avoid the pain of seeing my limits, my imperfection, my dependency on others? If we see overthinking in this light, we can stop fighting it with aggression. We do not need to shout at our mind. Stop, be quiet. We can begin to ask it. Gently but firmly, what are you afraid will happen if we actually take this next small step in the daylight? There is another aspect here that is important. At 3 in the morning, we are often very alone in our thoughts. We imagine that all tasks are ours alone, that we must carry every burden, foresee every outcome, and control every variable. This is a very solitary way of being. From an Adlerian perspective, it also reflects a weakening of social interest, of the feeling that we are part of a community of others who can share tasks, responsibilities, and care. When we forget that others exist as partners, we begin to believe that every problem must be solved perfectly by ourselves in our own head before we may reach out. You might notice this belief in yourself. I must have the perfect plan before I can involve anyone. I must be completely sure before I speak. I must not burden others with my uncertainty or my needs. Such beliefs keep you in isolation, and overthinking thrives in isolation. Thoughts echo more loudly in a small, closed room. Now, consider a different movement. What if instead of trying to win the battle in your head at 3 in the morning, you said to yourself, very quietly, this is not the hour for final decisions. This is the hour for noticing. The hour for decisions will come when the sun is up, and I am among other human beings. You could then ask, what small, concrete step could I take tomorrow with another person to move this situation by even 1 inch? It may be sending an honest, short message. It may be asking a colleague, can I get your perspective on this? It may be telling your partner, I am worried about this and I would like to think it through together. It may be scheduling a time to talk, so the issue has a container in the real world. In doing this, you are shifting from solitary vigilance to cooperative courage. You are remembering that life is not a private exam you must pass alone, but a shared project in which you can both offer and receive help. Let us stay with the body for a moment. At 3 in the morning, your thoughts fly far into the future and deep into the past. But your body remains lying there. In the present, it breathes. It feels the mattress. It hears small sounds in the room. Sometimes a simple micro step is to invite your attention back from the distant horizon of what if to the nearness of here I am. Now, you might say softly to yourself, my task in this moment is not to solve my whole life. My task is only to rest enough to meet tomorrow. You can feel your breath without trying to make it special. You can notice the contact of your body with the bed, letting gravity hold you. You can gently relax your hands, your jaw, your forehead, as if sending a small message to your nervous system. We are not under attack. We are only anxious. This is not a magic trick. It will not erase all thoughts, but it is an act of courage. The courage to be imperfect even in rest. You are saying, I allow things to be unfinished tonight. I trust that I can meet them again in the morning step by step. Another micro experiment you might try is to keep a small notebook near your bed. When the same thought comes back again and again, I must not forget to do this. I need to talk to them. I am afraid about that deadline. You can write one simple line. Tomorrow I will take one small step on this. By you name the action briefly, perhaps. By sending an email. By asking for a meeting. By calling a friend. By seeking information. Then you close the notebook. You are gently telling your mind, thank you. I have heard you. The message is stored. You can rest now. The action will belong to tomorrow's self. In this way, you separate the tasks of night and day. The night is not responsible for finishing our tasks. Its job is to let our body and mind recover, so that we can act with more clarity and courage when the sun is up. You might worry, but if I let go at night, won't I become careless? Won't I lose my edge? From my perspective, the opposite is often true. A rested person who takes small steps in the daylight is more effective than an exhausted person who spends long hours rehearsing but does not move. The unity of your life, your beliefs, your feelings, your actions becomes more coherent when thought and movement are aligned. If you constantly tell yourself, I must be perfect, I must foresee everything, but your real behavior is one of avoidance and paralysis, the inattention grows. If instead you allow yourself to be imperfect and yet keep moving in small ways, your style of life becomes gentler and more courageous at the same time. I would like to return once more to our guiding question, in slightly different words. When my mind spins at 3 in the morning, what step in my waking life is it afraid to take? If you can identify that step, even roughly, you have already shifted from helplessness to curiosity. You are no longer only the victim of your thoughts. You are a partner in understanding them. Perhaps the step is admitting to someone, I made a mistake. Perhaps it is saying to yourself, this job in its current form is too much for me. I need to renegotiate the expectations. Perhaps it is acknowledging, I cannot control what others think of me, only how I choose to behave toward them. Each of these recognitions moves you from the solitary world of anxious fantasies into the shared world of real relationships. And here, social interest, the feeling of belonging and contribution, becomes a powerful antidote to overthinking. When we ask, how can I be useful in this situation, even in a small way, we redirect our attention from self-protection to participation. We stop asking, how do I avoid looking foolish? And begin asking, what would be genuinely helpful here, even if I do it imperfectly? This shift does not mean ignoring your own needs. On the contrary, it means including yourself as one of the people who deserve consideration. You can ask, what is good for me and for others? In the long run, Sometimes the small step might be to defend your own limits, to say no, or not now, or I need support. When you act out of this broader sense of belonging, your nighttime thoughts gradually change their tone. They become less accusatory, less obsessed with winning or failing, and more interested in learning and contributing. If you find yourself awake again at 3 in the morning, and it will happen, because you are human, you might experiment with this simple sequence. First, notice, here is my familiar mind, trying to protect me by thinking. Second, ask, what is this overthinking doing instead of movement? Third, decide tomorrow, I will take one kind, small step in the direction that frightens me. Fourth, return your attention gently to your breath, your body, and the present moment, reminding yourself, my task right now is simply to rest as well as I can. You may not fall asleep immediately. You may still feel waves of anxiety, but you are no longer lost. You have turned rumination from a messenger to close. I wish to say this clearly. Nothing about this struggle makes you less worthy. The fact that you lie awake at night worrying is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that you care deeply, that you wish to live well, to fulfill your tasks, to be a good member of the human community. Your overthinking is a clumsy expression of this care, not its enemy. With encouragement, this same energy can slowly be redirected into small, imperfect actions that build your confidence and your sense of belonging. Step by step, you discover that you do not have to be finished or flawless in order to take part in life. So, if tonight or some other night you find yourself awake again at 3 in the morning, may you remember this. You are not alone in this experience. Many of us have walked these quiet corridors of the mind. You can treat yourself not as a problem to be fixed, but as a fellow human being learning a new way to respond. And if you choose to experiment with even one small step tomorrow, one honest message, one request for help, one boundary, one act of kindness toward yourself or another, then your sleepless hour will not have been in vain. It will have become part of a larger movement, from anxious circling toward courageous, shared living. Thank you for taking this time to reflect with me. If something in these thoughts has been helpful or encouraging, you might choose to stay connected here, perhaps by subscribing or by leaving a small sign of appreciation for this conversation. You may also wish to pass it on to someone who could use a gentle word today. In this way, we continue to grow together in courage, in belonging, and in quiet, mutual encouragement.